Hey everyone, I'm here with a quick video on the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, Mike Jeffries. Now, Mike Jeffries was arrested today, him along with his partner, okay, and another individual that was pretty much running a enterprise. The same things that they're accusing Diddy of, running an enterprise where they was taking advantage of people, giving them substances, locking them in rooms until they was finished taking advantage of them, making them sign NDAs, taking away their phones, doing all kind of sinister stuff to them for their own pleasure. So listen, he was arrested. His partner was arrested, and another person that was helping them do the interviews and recruiting the people was arrested. But my question to you is, and my question to them is, will these three individuals have the opportunity to get out on bail, to be out on bond? Will they be able to post bail? They have similar crimes that they're being accused of, just like Diddy. And maybe the only difference is going to be that they're not tampering with witnesses for our knowledge that we know of at the moment. Now, I will tell you this. If these three individuals are allowed to post bond, the streets are going to be even nastier than they are right now. It's going to be a dog fight. It's going to get ugly. Listen, fortunately for Diddy, there's somebody out there that got caught doing similar sinister crimes as he is being accused of, and it might be, for the moment, his get out of jail free card. Because if they let these three individuals out on bail, they're going to have trouble making the people understand why they did not let you out. Now, let's get into this story. Let me present the screen here. What do I want to see? Let's take a listen real quick, and then I'm going to give you some more of my thoughts. Like I said, in 2022, the documentary came out on Netflix about this CEO, about what was going on at Abercrombie and Fitch. And there were people back then in 2022 in that documentary that had already sued them and won. Let's take a listen to this press conference.
District of New York. Thank you all for joining us today. With me today are James Dennehy, Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's New York Field Office. We have Deputy Chief Carlos Ortiz, Commanding Officer of the NYPD Special Victims Unit. And we have my office's outstanding prosecution team, Aaron Reed, Megan Farrell, and Philip Pilmar. We're here today to announce the arrest and charging of three defendants: former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, Michael Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson, on charges of sex trafficking and engaging in interstate prostitution. Powerful individuals for too long have trafficked and abused for their own sexual pleasure young people with few resources in a dream of securing a successful career in fashion or entertainment. To anyone who thinks they can exploit and coerce others by using the so-called casting couch system, this case should serve as a warning. Prepare to trade that couch for a bed in federal prison. The message from today's prosecution is clear. Sexually exploiting vulnerable human beings is a crime, and doing so by dangling dreams of a future in fashion or modeling or any other business is no different. My office and our law enforcement partners will always prioritize standing up for victims, no matter their gender and no matter how powerful the wrongdoers think they are. We will hold them to account. As we allege in the indictment, between 1992 and 2014, Michael Jeffries was the chief executive officer of Abercrombie and Fitch. Abercrombie was a widely known clothing retailer with stores around the world. Aspiring fashion models knew that a place on one of Abercrombie's iconic ads could be the ticket to success in the modeling industry. But while Jeffries was the CEO of one of the most recognizable clothing retailers in the world, he was using his power, his wealth, and his influence to traffic men for his own sexual pleasure and that of his romantic partner, Matthew Smith. The charging documents describe in graphic and disturbing detail the violent and exploitive acts these defendants perpetrated, for which they will now face justice in a court here in the Eastern District of New York. So here's what's alleged in the indictment. Jeffries and Smith employed James Jacobson to act as a recruiter to find men. Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he would typically pay them to engage in sex acts with him. Following the tryouts with Jacobson, Smith would often then personally approve whether the men who were selected would meet Jeffries and Smith. The defendants would fly the selected men to Jeffries and Smith's homes in the Hamptons in New York City or to hotels around the world in such places as England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's for the purpose of attending events to engage in commercial sex. But beyond simply hiring men for sex, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson used force, fraud, and coercion to traffic those men for their own sexual gratification. For example, as alleged, the defendants employed a referral system and an interview process that did not inform the men of the details of the sex events before they attended, including the full extent and nature of the sexual activity that would be required of the men at these events. They caused the men to believe that attending these sex events could yield modeling opportunities with Abercrombie or otherwise benefit their careers. Smith and Jeffries employed a secret staff to operate these sex events. The staff ensured that the men signed non-disclosure agreements and handed over their personal items, such as their phones, before the start of the events to maintain the secrecy of these events. The defendants caused the men to believe that not complying with requests for certain acts, sex acts during the events, could harm their careers. The defendants pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the sex events. And they required the presence of staff during the sexual activity and ensured that the men did not leave the sex events until Jeffries and Smith decided that the sessions were over. Also, as alleged, on more than one occasion, Jeffries and Smith either directed others to inject or personally injected men with an erection-inducing substance for the purpose of causing the men to engage in sex acts the men were incapable of engaging in or unwilling to engage in. Additionally, the indictment alleges on more than one occasion when men did not or could not consent, Jeffries and Smith violated the bodily integrity of these men by subjecting them or continuing to subject them to invasive sexual and violent contact by body parts and other objects. As alleged in the indictment, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson didn't just carry this activity on for a couple of occasions. Their sex trafficking and prostitution enterprise lasted at least from the end of 2008 until early 2015. During that period, the defendants hired dozens of men and transported them to New York and around the globe. They spent millions of dollars on a massive infrastructure to support this operation and maintain its secrecy. This included hundreds of thousands of dollars cash for commercial sex, prolific amounts of money for staff to run the sex events, money for domestic travel, international travel, hotel rooms, services from a security company, and Jacobson's salary, among other things. Now, this investigation remains ongoing. Although there are 15 John Does identified as victims in this indictment, this interstate prostitution venture encompassed dozens and dozens of men. And I encourage anyone with information about this case, including anyone who was a victim of the defendant's alleged crimes, to contact the FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Now, I want to thank the victims who have already come forward for sharing their stories. Prosecutions like this are really impossible without the bravery of victims who are willing to report what happened to them to law enforcement. But this office, the Department of Justice, and its law enforcement partners will continue to work tirelessly to protect victims from powerful individuals who use their wealth and their influence to exploit and harm others for sexual gratification. In addition to my team, I'd like to give special thanks to FBI Special Agent Amanda Young and NYPD Detectives Paul Byrne and Antonio Pagan, who have worked hard on this investigation in the pursuit of justice. Good afternoon. I'm
watching the whole 26 minutes. That was crazy, right? So they were arrested, one in Florida, one in Wisconsin. I think two of them in Florida, one in Wisconsin. So they're being arraigned where they were arrested, but they will eventually have to appear in New York. So I last read that they were going to get arraigned and have the conversation of bail come up today. I'm still currently waiting for to see if that information actually appears anywhere. Now, I will say this. Let me tell you some differences here on what they have versus the Diddy situation. In this situation, they're clearly stating that people were not allowed to leave, because people were there to enforce that they could not leave until Michael Jeffries and whoever else was finished with them. So a little bit different, a lot of illusion in the Diddy case. They never said that whole time that there was bodyguards, there was people stopping them from leaving the room, and maybe because they were so drugged up, they couldn't leave because they was drugged up. But just giving you some little differences here, right, of what they were saying. And, you know, they're saying that individuals, now they said with Diddy, I guess Diddy was going around, even though he was allegedly drugged up himself, he was shoving drugs down people's throat that, you know, was already half passed out. But this case, they're saying that there were individuals there that was giving, you know, injecting stuff in these other people that were being abused, right? So there's some key differences here. But like I said, what's going to be interesting for me right now is this bail piece. I'm going to see how this plays out. And we'll talk more when I see whether they let them go out on bail or they deny their bail. So time is going to tell. Listen, New York is working overtime. They're working overtime right now. They're not playing games. You know, Cat Williams, like everybody said 2024 is going to be the year of exposure, but good gosh almighty. Like I said, that Abercrombie and Fitch documentary came out in 2022. It is 2024. 2024. And I'll say this, whether you are, I got to say alleged people right now, with the exception of Cassie, because we saw the video, right? If you are alleged victim of Sean Diddy Combs, alleged victim of these individuals, the former CEO and the other individuals from this Abercrombie and Fitch situation, my heart goes out to you. But I like the way that this one approached this press conference. He thanked them for their bravery and for coming forward and speaking up, because yes, these cases are very difficult. Imagine you having to come out and say that someone violated you in such a vicious way, and all you were trying to do is get into your craft. Listen, guys, chat with me in the comments, and when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. Everybody, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts. I'll chat with you. See you on the next video.